Hey, once again, welcome to episode 63. So today we're going to talk about expectation and a few things. Perfect timing, as always, with the sporadic recordings, but things come up because I just had a conversation with a friend of mine on paying attention to detail, which works in perfectly with expectations that you mentioned we can speak about. So I think attention to detail is important, but not in the way you think. So did you want to start and share on what you were feeling regarding expectation? Just threw it out there to you. There you go. Linda, take the reins. It's all yours.
Yes, I was talking to a lady who's a very sports-orientated woman. She was a Olympic competitor. Yeah, Olympic competitor. Yeah. Anywho, we were talking about expectations, and I was saying that with expectations, I generally try not to have any expectations. So I don't really believe in having expectations, and that way you're not sorely disappointed. You know, if something great comes out of it, then awesome. And if something not so great comes out of it, oh well, it's not the end of the world because I didn't have high expectations and just go with the flow. But she likes to set very high expectations. And she said, not meeting those expectations and disappointment is a natural part of life, and that should be okay. But it's not quite what I was coming from. It's more the attachment to the expectations that I was trying to go for.
Absolutely.
I think she missed completely.
Yes, definitely misunderstanding because expectations, really what she's saying is goals. And so goals create expectations, but it's the goals itself. So which gives you obviously the short-term goals to lead to a greater goal, of course. And with any competition, there's obviously risk of, it's hard not to go, oh, I don't care if we win, doesn't really matter. But you're not saying that. You're not saying nothing matters. I think that's the big thing. People think, okay, if you don't have no expectation, then nothing actually matters. It's not like that. Everything matters. Things do matter. And it's natural to have expectation if you're competing or you get a sense of how the other competition is or whatever else. But yeah, it's not easy one to speak about in a way. It's hard to think for a lot of people to get their head around. The great masters speak about non-attachment. It's the attachment that creates suffering. So I've mentioned before that there's nothing wrong with having preferences, but it is the attachment to preferences that causes suffering. So if you really want a particular meal, you go out to a restaurant and they're out of that meal, that's not serving it, then it can create massive suffering where it could be an opportunity to find another meal that you like, that you might really like. Expectations is linked with conditions potentially. And if expectation and conditions have to be a certain way in the external world that you live in, then you become very vulnerable. If you have a balance where you have goals, some expectations, and you're an athlete, for example, then you can really excel. But end of the day, you have to let go and just do your best. And it's obviously natural to be disappointed if you don't win or something like that. But end of the day, it's that expectation or goals that has driven you. It's not necessarily the outcome. I think it's important to be enjoying the moment and the training and enjoy the little goals that you make, but it can't be conditional. You're bettering yourself and you're improving and you're growing, you're maturing, and that in itself makes the journey worthwhile. It's not about the ultimate outcome. Not to say you can't be a part of that, but if there's all these conditions that you must meet and expectations. When I played football, I wanted to make the best decisions, and I wanted to be the most efficient I could be on the football field, and that drove me to train harder and break personal goals. But it made me, being young and not knowing the best way to train and seeking advice from a lot of different people on their expertise, and I probably push myself at times. So it can lead to injuries than it does for many people. So it really comes down to having no expectations, having the balance, and enjoying the journey. And it's not all about the end goal. It's about the journey along the way. Yes.
When you were back in the day, did you feel you were attached to the outcome? Like, how did you deal with not winning?
Great question. So for me, being spiritually minded and not really knowing that I was spiritually minded fully at the time, I was very philosophical back then. I felt like because I went through my own suffering growing up, there was something missing. I wanted to really be a protector and a man, in a sense, an alpha male, not domineering, but someone that was strong that could protect others. And that was based on my childhood of not being able to help people at different times, even physically. So for me, I was always striving, and it wasn't so much winning the grand final or doing these things. It was more of trying to fulfill something within me and feeling worthy. So if we did win a game, I felt worthy for a bit, but it was linked with something that I felt I was lacking within. But the interesting thing is, if you win a grand final, you feel really good, and it was satisfying. And I've lost grand finals as well, and it's interesting because you can feel elated or deflated based on an outcome, but within possibly weeks, you're back to how you were, and you see to get the highs and lows of life. So it doesn't really, for me, long term, it didn't really fulfill anything for me, and I had to discover a deeper sense of myself and get a sense of my heart, as weird as that sounds. But I had to find my own value. And for me, I attributed trying to having these expectations, having these expectations and goals. It was really coming down to me trying to find a deep sense of worth within myself. So that was my journey. And I feel striving for interesting topic because I feel striving for success in a career or a job or selling heaps of products or doing really well in whatever area you focus. I really feel the underlying core here is to find a sense of value and fulfillment, and we often attribute that to the external means. So the amazing thing is, though, it will never fully fulfill you. It will give you a sense of peace and freedom and fulfillment to varying degrees, but it leaves you hungry for more. So that void will never be filled. And I've spoken to people about, coming to peace and finding a sense of fulfillment within yourself. And I know people that have been scared it's like, well, what happens if I feel fulfilled, or if I awake on some level or discover my heart? What if I lose my goals or my passions, my drive? It's like, well, some things may not be as important, but you still, in my experience, you still follow your dreams. But if you've found your car keys or you find something you've been looking for a long time, you stop looking for them and you enjoy what you've found, like the beauty or the fulfillment in what you've found, because you've found a part of yourself. Car keys obviously just means a sense of yourself or your heart, but people do yoga and do all sorts of spiritual things and many different things to find a sense of fulfillment. And I can understand people thinking, what if I lose my drive if I find what I'm looking for? It's like, but then you're fulfilled every day. You have a deeper sense of fulfillment. So you don't need to go outside of yourself or search or put in hours and hours and hours to grasping for a sense of what you already have now. People don't realize that as you become more fulfilled, you don't have to seek it so much outwardly, and ultimately you don't have to seek it outward at all. So the striving for whatever success you have, which brings fulfillment to some degree, if you didn't need to strive for success because you are fulfilled, how could that be scary? Because you found what you're looking for. It's a hard thing to get your head around in a way.
Yeah.
But I'd rather be sitting at peace every day not having to do all these things and put in hours and hours and hours for something, for an idea. And that idea is what you think will fulfill you, and maybe it will to some degree. And there's nothing wrong with being successful in any level. I think you're missing the picture if I said to someone, you can be fulfilled right now and you don't have to pursue all these things. You can if you want to, but you do it because you want to, not because you have to, because you're feeling like you're not worthy until you find or achieve your goals. Some people go, no, I don't lose that drive. But the whole point of life is being fulfilled. And I'd rather have that now than always dangle the carrot to make me chase it for years and years, and only getting a slight bite of the carrot maybe, but the carrot will never disappear. I'd rather think, I don't need the carrot. There's plenty of beauty around me and within me. It's just a completely different way of thinking. And I was speaking with a good friend of mine today, and she was saying about other friends that get caught in the detail. And I said I'm sort of opposite. I don't concern myself with the detail in most situations, because the detail, this is my opinion and my experience, the detail is something that you get snagged on that stops you from seeing the whole picture. It's like the saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. The more detail you pay attention to, let's say in a relationship or friendship, and you try and unravel every single little detail of why they might do something that you don't like or don't agree with, or they challenge you. If you get a microscope and look into the detail, it will distract you. I see it personally as nothing more than a distraction. And the details and all the little details, why did this happen? Why did that? Why? All these things. It will never show you what you need to see. It will confuse you, because what I like to look at is if people express to me or share things with me, I look past the detail. I'm not too interested in it, to be honest. I don't care about the frizzy stuff on top. I like to look at the currents underlying, whether it's fear or anger, whatever it is, whatever the detail is, the core issues are the same. It comes down to self-worth, lack of or fear, which is still self-worth, fear, anger. The more fulfilled you feel, the less angry you are and the less fearful you are. So it still comes down to self-worth. So I definitely recommend look at patterns. Instead of getting caught in the details, look at the patterns of how things happen and look at what the patterns reflect. Is there an avoidance with someone? Is there a clinging for someone for some sense of fulfillment, or a clinging, someone wants more attention from another person or attention from someone because they don't feel it's from you? There's patterns to reflect how they're feeling or how the other is feeling within themselves. So let's say if you go extreme, they're flirting with people, or the life's all about getting likes on Instagram. And I've actually seen a podcast where women, and it wouldn't be just women, but they're talking to these women saying, would they prefer their boyfriend or Instagram? What's their preference? And some of these women said likes and attention on Instagram. They almost get more from that. And yeah. So that's the vulnerabilities of seeking approval, outward satisfaction, attention. These people absolutely 100% are lacking in self-love and self-worth. 100%.
Yep.
So it still comes down to if they flirt with someone else, or if someone's unfaithful or whatever it is. If someone is contented fully within themselves and they're in a relationship with someone they care about, they're not going to be unfaithful because they're loyal. Their honor is a big thing within them. So it's still, no matter what it is, no matter what the detail shows you there's something going on within that person. Doesn't mean it's sinister. It just means there's something they haven't discovered. There's something they feel they're lacking. So then getting attention outwardly gives you a sense of, wow, yeah, I'm worth something. I'm valuable. This person appreciates me, but they don't. They don't appreciate you. They don't even know you. You know, if it's likes on Instagram or so, they're in the fantasy world. So I remember, I think I spoke about this before when I was playing for Parramatta, and I was sort of in reserve grade, trying to work my way up, and a kid came up to me and said, "Oh, can I have your autograph?" And I went to sign it and said, "Are you in first grade?" And said, "No, reserve grade." And he snatched the book out of my hands and ran off. Yeah. Oh, another time too, it's funny, I was trialing for under 21s for Parramatta, and I had a heap of friends and family come up to see me play because it was close to where, not that far from where I was living. And it's sort of a big deal, I suppose, trialing for Parramatta. And I came off the field, and when I got the ball, made a break, and I played okay. And because I had quite a few friends and family cheering for me, yeah, go. And then when I came off, they were cheering for me, and all these kids swarmed around me because I thought I was someone famous, but I was just trying to make it. And they didn't know any better. And this kid was wearing a Parramatta jumper jersey, and he turned around and said, "Oh, can you sign my jumper?" And I said, "Yeah." And he turned around, there's a big Peter Sterling written. He was a legend. Peter Sterling written on the back. I went, oh. So I had a little corner, small writing. I wrote my name. I haven't made it yet, and I'm not going to be competing with Peter Sterling. So I went. That's funny. I thought in lights, hopefully it'll wash out.
You probably look back at that signature and go, who was that?
Yeah, well, he's a famous podcaster and self-help guy. Let's hope he discovers spirituality.
Then he'll realise.
Yeah. Not that I'm that famous at all, but anyway.
Funny.
Yeah, but yeah, it's funny. You got to laugh at these things. So where was I?
On a tangent.
Expectation. Oh yeah, as usual. Yeah. So expectation. What I found when you're trying to work your way up in the ranks of Parramatta, and you get more and more attention, and you become. I discovered that I became more needy. You need that attention, and it's sort of addictive in a way. And you feel if you're not getting the attention, you start questioning that. You see where you're at. You think, oh, I'm not succeeding enough. I'm not excelling. So it makes you try harder and play harder in football. Like I had some injuries as well. So then behind the eight ball, you fall down a couple of runs or so. Me being into awareness and certain things, I just realised that it wasn't healthy. And looking at, I mentioned this before, how some people in the footy show, not everyone, but some people, they still act as if they're in their 20s when they might be in their 30s, 40s or 50s. So they're still living and behaving in a way how they did when they were younger. They associate that behaviour and how they were then is how they were when they got that attention, and they try and cling to that. I'd imagine once they quit on the footy show, then they have a big look at themselves, and as they age, then there's a big gap, a big hole that they've missed where it comes to maturing and growing and understanding themselves. They've held on to a place because of the attention it gives them. So it can be detrimental. So you can't get hooked on expectation, and you can't get sucked into the whole attention. And once again, the core values, which comes down to self-worth or lack of self-worth or needing attention. When you truly know who you are and get a deep sense of your heart and yourself, you don't need attention. The only socials I really do is for self-help. I don't post anything personally because it's no one's business, and I don't need approval from other people. And even for birthdays, family members or someone else close to me, I'll ring them and speak to them. I won't go happy. I might if I don't see them. It's easy sometimes to say happy birthday on Facebook, but I don't tend to post things because I think partly because everyone does it. There's nothing wrong with it, but I was always like that. I remember when I first set up my Facebook, I said I sent it to a couple of friends, having a tea by the beach. I think this is what we're meant to post on Facebook, isn't it? Bit of satire in a way, but I'm not really one for it too much. So anyway, that's just me. You just can't get caught. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. You just can't get caught in, if you're posting things like that and you're seeing the likes and you want to get certain things back, and that's your assessment on whether people care or whether you're worthy, then just have another think about things, in my opinion. You have to be careful with expectation, not to set yourself up into a pattern that you can't get out of. That's the entrapment through expectation. And non-attachment is about loving and accepting who you are and how you are and being in the moment, rather than projecting ahead with conditions that you must meet. Otherwise, you're a failure. That's just no way to live. That's for sure. There's something else that popped in my mind that we're leading into, and I thought I'm going to go there, but they went on a tangent instead about football. I know it's weird. I know. Oh yeah. Let's put it this way: if you're paying attention to all the little things that your partner or friend is doing, and you get caught on the little mannerisms, little things, be interesting. Be curious to look at all the little things you do, and the attention to detail. Look at the things that little idiosyncronicities that you do, because you will discover, if you look into these things, the underlying current of why you do certain things is the same. And this is a great thing to pay attention to and look into within yourself. All little things. If you're not happy in a certain situation, or you might want to get under someone's skin, or just make them take note of yourself, or whatever it is. If you're doing that, it's not all these little things that are random. There is a consistency. There is a current. There is a reason you're doing that. And this is a great thing to discover within yourself, because then you will understand that it's not all these little things that someone's trying to do to get under your skin. There's an underlying current for them too, that they're trying to either face or not face or run from. There is something going on. So don't pay attention to the little minute things which will distract you and have you walking on eggshells potentially. Look at the underlying current. Look at the consistencies in their actions to give you a sense of what's going on. So I definitely suggest doing this first with yourself. If you can find the pattern of why you do things, then that's far more revealing, and you'll be able to more easily find patterns in other people's ways when they're around you, no matter who it is. So it's all reflective of how people are within themselves and what's going on with them at that time, and whether they're avoiding, or whether they're not happy, or whether they're feeling that they're not respected, they're not valued. So they might be seeking attention elsewhere outside of themselves, because let's face it, society doesn't encourage us in general to look within. It encourages that outwardly, or focus outwardly. External things is where we find fulfillment and happiness, and usually it's to do with the car, the house, or the relationship. It's all things that you can't really assess, because having those things won't squash anything. Like it isn't as if the more expensive car you have or the house you have that you'll find a deep sense of fulfillment. End of the day, you will, after you enjoy what you have, you will fall back into, in my opinion, the happiness that you feel you deserve. So you have to look inward, not outward. Discover your patterns before you discover anyone else's. Look at yourself first. And then at least when you look at others around you, you'll get a deeper sense of what's going on, because you will start understanding yourself more on a more deeper level. So look at your mannerisms, and try and sit with and understand why you do the things you do. I think that's very important. And then look at, do the things that I do, does it benefit me? Does it benefit others? Is it selfish? Is it selfless? Am I valuing myself? Am I important? Am I focusing on enhancing my own value and morality? Will it benefit myself and therefore others, or is it just all revolved around me? So these are key questions that we need to ask, I feel. Anything to add to that, Linda? Any other directions you want to go in? It's probably okay for this chat.
Yeah, no, I can't think of anything at the moment. You tend to cover most things, don't you? Anyway.
Yeah, I'll go in so many different random areas that you can't remember what we're talking about. Should we discuss? So, well, I've had fun. It's all good. So that's how we do it. It's how we roll. So
yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening in, everyone, and stay tuned to the next one. Take care. Bye for now.